all the practical experiences to evolve collective visions of what a different society could look like, something that is much more just and fair and ecologically sustainable and so on. So what you see on the screen right now is the kinds of sectors that we attempt to try and bring together. This happens in a number of ways. So we do physical confluences of 3 or 4 days on either a regional basis. Vinay, the next slide. Either a regional basis. So for instance, there have been confluences for groups working in Ladakh or in Kutch or in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu, and so on, or on issues of health, thematic issues, so issues of health, on food, on democracy. There is an ongoing process of youth Vikalp Sangam, where youth or people working with youth are able to also do this kind of thing focused on what young people are doing or wanting to do. So these are the two kinds of Sangams that take place, and we've had about 20 such actual physical confluences in different parts of the country. Right now, of course, we can't meet physically, so that's why this virtual confluence idea has come up. So in these COVID times, the kind of responses also that we are trying to give, one is the series of webinars trying to present the grassroots initiatives, exciting work online. The second is a blog that is called VS Corona Times, and we'll put the blog ID on the chat box, which is able to, as far as possible, track the different kinds of initiatives taking place around the country, not just on relief, but relief related to alternatives also, of the kind of story that we hear today about what Gunj is doing. So that perspectives, uh, requests for relief donations and things like that is being put onto the blog. And the third thing we're doing, which we should come out with very soon, is a series of documents of alternative initiatives on the ground, which point to what can and should be done in terms of dealing with crises like this, in terms of creating more community resilience for coping with the kind of crisis that we're in right now, and especially linked to local livelihoods, local exchanges of food and other essential materials, local self-reliance, the kind of thing our government is today talking about, but which in fact groups have been talking about and doing for a long, long time. And of course, whether our government really means it or not is a big open question mark. But there are pointers on the ground, and we're trying to see if we can bring together documents that to this, and then to produce a series of films or other media by which to also put these stories out. So the last slide, Vinay, I think is just a website, which is where a lot of these stories have been going up over the last 4 or 5 years. So I think there are more than about 1,400, 1,500 stories and perspectives already on that. And maybe we can use this opportunity also for those of you who are on this webinar. If you have any exciting story to report, to talk about, or even just to give us an idea and give us a link and a local contact, and we can contact them and ask for the story. Or if you have films that you think should be featured on this or any other media, then please do let us know. Send us an email, put it on the chat box. We'd be very, very happy to add to this already wonderful repository of stories on alternatives. So that's on the Vikalp Sangam. Thank you. Back to you, Juhi.
Thanks, Ashish. So moving forward, I have very little to say about Gunj. Of course, I think most of us would know Gunj, but it was set up in 1999 by Anshu Gupta and Meenakshi Gupta. And I'm just going to read from from their vision statement as to what is the main aim of Gunj, which is basically a vision to grow as an idea across regions, economies, and countries using urban discard as a tool to alleviate poverty and enhance the dignity of the poor in the world. This kind of completely encompasses what Gunj has been doing for the last 20 years. And we've got both Anshu and Meenakshi who are going to tell us more about Gunj. But the main principles that they work behind, and again, a very key factor which should be a learning and an inspiration for many of us in this field, is to actually look at how they focus on the receiver's dignity rather than the donor's pride. And I've known Anshu a bit because of some other initiatives, and I know that this particular value system is something that he holds, and the entire team of Goonj, and I know some of the other Goonj members are also here, so I want to welcome them, have held very much as one of their key components for every project and initiative that Goonj has come up with in the last 20 years. So I would just hand over this screen now to Anshu and Meenakshi, who are going to take us through Goonj and its story, and of course, what they're doing today for all the migrants and the daily wage laborers in the villages, as well as the ones who are stuck around India. Meenakshi, Anshu, are you guys here? Sorry, I don't know. I think we've lost Meenakshi and Anshu.
Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Thank
hi.
you, Juhi.
Okay, so over to you guys. Thank you so much for giving your time, and you've always been an inspiration to us.
Thank you. Very kind words. Thank you to the Vikal Sangam team and Ashish Ji, Juhi, and the entire team for giving us time to come and speak about our work and share with you some ideas. Like Juhi was saying, we started in 1999, so that's about 21 years of being in this work, learning from this work. Anshu and I both come from
Sorry, Meenakshi. Please keep your mics on mute, Ravi ji. Thank you. Carry on.
So we started 21 years ago. We started with one idea and one problem that was bothering us. And we have, over the 21 years, been learning, even today, learning from the work, learning from the people that we are connected with, and sort of unlearning a lot of things as well. I wanted to share with you a film that was made by a very dear friend, which talks about some of the thoughts and the why behind what Goonj does. If to give you sort of a very sort of a broad idea, and then we can jump into what exactly do we do and how did the idea grow. Anshu can probably go more into that a little bit. Just to share with you that little film, which was made actually in Odisha. It was some work which was going on the ground, and we'll speak more about that. But the film captures that work with the general ethos of Goonj. So just to share with you that. I'm still sort of learning the work of this.
No problem.
Just bear with me one moment.
More than a decade now, Goonj has been working in the remotest parts.
Can you see this?
No, you've got to share the screen.
Cloth and other
One
material
second.
as a currency to engage village communities in development.
One second. Let me just. I'm sorry. I'm just very new at this. I'm just not able to.
Okay.
Can you help me with this? Let me see if we can.
Together to build a new foundation for our country.
Yes,
A foundation where, with dignity and love, everyone works as an equal stake.
We can't see the film still.
No,
Meenakshi.
you can't.
No.
Have you sent any of us the film or the link?
Sure.
Single bag of clothing from
One second.
home.
One.
Now,
Let me just close that, and then I'll be back with you in a second.
Meenakshi managed it pretty well earlier, Ashish.
Okay.
Well, I'm
Share
learning.
screen.
I'm learning. We'll share with you a link of that separately. I think we can start with the journey that we took up 21 years ago. We started with a very, very basic issue. And what bothered us at that point, we were living in Delhi, and on the roads of Delhi, we saw a lot of homeless people. And we were wondering as to why is it that, all of us having so much at home, so much stuff at home, so many clothes at home, but this person on the road is not able to deal with a basic or to 1 or 2 layers of clothes, especially in winters. It was a question that was, I mean, I'm sure all of us who are living in cities, we come across these homeless people and people in the slums. But when we actually started working on the issue, we realized something bigger, which was that even though clothing is one of the three basics, roti, kapda, makan, food, cloth and shelter, it still isn't part of any development agenda. It is still not part of any big or small agency's work to say that we should get clothing to people, because it is not, it is one of those neglected basic human needs, which hasn't been sort of factored in or mapped in. That's where our journey with neglected needs or basic needs started. We started working on that, and we looked at it as a way of, so cloth in a sense became like a metaphor for us of the things which were left out, the needs which were left out, the people who were left out. That's how the thought process of Goonj came up. And this whole gap between the villages of India, where there is very big scarcity of resources and opportunities, and the abundance of the same in the cities where people like us live, whether it's cloth or any other material, and opportunities as well. So we started with that, and today, after 21 years, the work has grown tremendously. As it is a 1,000 plus people team. Last year we dealt with about 6,000 tons of urban surplus material. We channelized that to villages across 25 states of India. So the work has grown to sort of become like a big channel between the cities and the villages of India, where material is being turned into a new resource for development work. We'll tell you more about that. Anshu, would you like to add anything about the journey?
So I think journey, some of you know, the whole issue, especially when I say moved from Dehradun to Delhi, and this was first time the exposure of the slums and all that, and also, as you know, some people who have grown in the small cities had never seen red lights also in those days. So I was also one of those. I mean, Dehradun never used to have red lights. And then you come to the city and you suddenly see so many homeless people, and you go on your scooter and then it stops at the red light, and so many kids come, and you keep arguing, talking to yourself that why these kids are not wearing clothes, or especially woolens in the winters and all that. So that's how I think a journey on cloth or the clothing is started. All this realization that so till that time we only knew that there are three basic needs: roti, kapda, makan, food, cloth, and shelter. But it took us years to understand that in the list of development issues across the globe, which I always say 100-150 issues, from domestic violence to global warming, and now the COVID, and much larger displacement and all those kind of issues which will be added now, in the dictionary, still you will never find clothing written as a subject. So basically, when you talk about three basic needs, you say roti, kapda, makan. But when you talk about human needs or the development subject, you're not even talking about it. And that is where meeting this person, who used to pick up the unclaimed dead bodies for the local police and all, and his daughter who even said that when I feel cold, I hug the dead body and sleep. Absolutely unbelievable. But I had no option but to believe, because I was looking at it on a daily basis. And that's where this issue of clothing came up, that how it has been an absolute non-issue ultimately. Fine. And years later, in '98, we started very small with about 67 units of personal clothing. Never knew that this is how it will grow in so many other things. And it has grown, to be honest, because we were very, as Juhi also mentioned, for us, coming from the middle class families of India, or from a family of a very khudar, very self-respect kind of family, and often transferred because of you all know in the government job how it operates in India. So I think that self-respect or the dignity was very, very important part for us when we were growing up, and that is where that entire desperation or that entire thought process that we will never give free things to people, because at the end of the day, charity is a very charity is an absolute favorite subject of the doer, the person who is doing charity. Charity is never a favorite subject of the receiver, the person who is receiving it, because more charity you do, you kill the dignity, and without dignity, you do not have any development. So that's why, if you see in our approach, we say that the most important part is that the development has to be absolutely dignity led. Uh, we need to have that in focus, and especially after COVID, we all need to understand that the all the words we used to use like donor and beneficiary are absolutely wrong, because people like us who have been inside the homes and eating also enough food have been the biggest beneficiaries of the people who otherwise we call them beneficiary, who are still on the road and dying on the road, or crying for food, unfortunately, or walking. We are the beneficiary of those people, and we have enough examples which we must have seen many villages which are coming, where people are saying कि हम भूखे मर जाएंगे, लेकिन हम किसी भी हाल में मुफ्त का नहीं खाएंगे, will die of hunger. I mean, there are news reports and all that, and it's so painful to see that how people are forced to really take out their jhola and accept something. You can see that pain in their on their face. So for us, the dignity was very, very important part. The second part, we always said that unfortunately in the race of development, we always use our own distorted lenses. So we decide the problems and we decide the solutions. Because we have our mindset is that the people especially who are not wearing good clothes are the beneficiaries. They're not the givers, or as if they cannot contribute. I mean, my house is made by someone who was not wearing good clothes. My food is done by someone who's not wearing good clothes, because even what is good cloth and what is not good cloth is decided by me. I mean, imagine my arrogance in this entire chain. So we said that, can we just leave it on the community? That community will decide what is the issue. Community will decide what can be the local resources in that. And also very important for us was the local economics and local economies, because we said that if we value the local resources, we can really do that. If we remove the word donor and beneficiary and make everyone a stakeholder, we can certainly do that. And the most unfortunate part about this country is that the 20%, 30% of the population of this country has always used 70% of the population to produce for itself. I mean, villages are not producing for themselves. They grow cash crop, and imagine, that's what we've been arguing, that how many cash crop farmers are actually cash rich. They're not, because they've been growing cotton and coffee for people like us. So that's why we said that can we also work on the local economies, where still the barter system is one of the most prominent system, and which is still in place, and Mini will take you through that journey, through some pictures, that what are we trying to do. The fourth important part, we also found that there's a huge amount of material lying in the cities, absolutely unused, discarded, which unfortunately the society calls a donation, which we right from the beginning we said that no, it's not a donation. It's hard, because we have already used it, so we can call it that we are giving it, but it's not a donation. So we said that this material has a lot of use, whether it is cloth, utensil, footwear, furniture, old doors, windows, everything, which otherwise has always been used as a charitable thing. Every second-hand material. So second-hand material is either a charitable thing or it's a disaster relief. These are two things, or it goes to the kabadi. So we said that, can it be put to the good use? Can we match the need of people? And we say that fine, if you have more topis or the caps, it will go to Odisha, because that's where people love it. If you have more suits, can it go to the mountains or to the Muslim dominated areas, so that it matches the culture, shape, size, geography, and all that. And that's where then it goes to the rural India, and that's where it works like a currency or the resource, which again we will tell you how that development part is happening. And also our approach has been to create a huge grid or the network, not by imposing something, not by becoming a so-called material resource or financial resource agency, but by valuing the wisdom of the local grassroots. I mean, never ever in our life we have ever said that we know Maharashtra or the village of Maharashtra more than us. Not at all. Because the local institution understand the problem, local institution have the solution, whether we call it a superstition or whatever. But the fact remains that even today, large part of rural India can roam around with a coconut or a stick and can find out water, which a lot of machines failed. The most unfortunate part is that the belief system of the people who are not wearing again good clothes is a superstition for people like us. So we just created this huge network of rural partners, basically on the basis of their learning, on the basis of how much they know there, what is the connect, and how can they really become our ear, our eyes, and they speak the local language. They are the opinion leaders there, or they can influence the opinion leader there, and they are the last mile deliveries. And to be honest, when I speak, when we come to the COVID part, we know it that is a network which is doing absolute wonders in this country to at least keep people alive, and at least the starvation, to whatever extent we are able to save, is largely because of these grassroots institutions. Over to you.
Vinay, next slide. So the whole point was,
sorry, Meenakshi, just to stop you here. Have you sent the link of the film to Vinay so we can play it at some point of time?
okay, just one moment. I'll.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No. I think I'll ask if. I honestly, I think we can go on with this.
Okay.
I can
Okay.
share that separately. That's okay.
Okay.
If I can share it in the middle of it, I'll try once again. Give it one more go. If I can.
No problem.
But so I think Anshu has given a whole summary of, we've not gone into great detail into it because we wanted to talk, we wanted to hear from other people also. But the whole idea of Goonj is sort of going across the whole circular economy model. If you know about the circular economic model, that's primarily saying that if we can, once some natural resources have gone into making something, for example, a shirt. So can that shirt, once it's used by somebody, can that shirt again go into the system and be used in another way? So we are doing that in the cities by using the surplus material of the cities. But instead of putting a lot of new resources to change the value of that, we are using it almost as the villages by doing a little bit of processing, a little bit of repair and value addition, and then reaching it to the villages where it's triggering much larger development work. So it's merging these two principles, merging these two models to be able to achieve larger work. That is so in a way it is slowing down the waste cycles. It is triggering a lot of development work. It is fulfilling some basic needs of people, and it is getting into some livelihood and other aspects of rural development as well. So that's the larger sort of principle behind the Goonj model. Vinay, if you can go to the next slide. So the idea of having two new currencies which have been added to development work. I mean, mostly we know that money gets a bigger value in development work. People, especially the development sector, people, organizations, entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, go through a lot of difficulty to actually implement their ideas. Of course, also work very frugally on very amazing ideas, but money is always a question which is bothering the work. So we have tried to use material as a new resource. In our model, material becomes the main currency, which is bartered so the cities have material, so that comes from the cities. The people in the villages who may be monetarily, financially poor, but they have a lot of things to give. So they give their efforts, they give their local wisdom and knowledge. They also bring in their natural resources. So a barter between these two new currencies have happened to trigger a lot of development work. Anshu, would you like to add something to?
No, so basically, I mean, we just call it symbolically, we call it cloth for work, okay? And what is happening is that everyone is a stakeholder, and everyone is paying something, everyone is putting something in that. You know, the way in Dharma we call, we often say that this is like a Havan. And one of the most beautiful part of Havan is that everyone puts Ahuti, and every single element has some value in it. So when you talk about this particular initiative, someone puts labor, someone puts brains, someone puts money, someone puts material. So that's how this entire work happens. So simple formula: you bring the material from the city, sort it, pack it in a decent way, match the need of different regions on the basis of whatever kind of people living there. What sizes. So if you're going to Uttarakhand, you need to be very sure that you have to put a smaller size of shoe, and if you are going to Kashmir for the men, you need to be large size of shoes. If you're going to the eating, even if you see COVID example, if you are serving in north, basmati tukda and chana dal is okay, but if you're going to south, basmati tukda will not work, and instead of chana dal you need tur dal. So I think that's how we have been able to really match the need, because one of the biggest problem with the donation mindset is that we often give what we have, we do not give what people need. So we tried to really work on that because our model is actually the so-called receiver centric, right? Who's receiving this material, and not the people like us who are trying to give away our discarded material.
Anshu, can I stop you here?
Yeah.
You usually give the example of the shirt and what is the shirt that you should give? Can you tell us that story, please?
No, okay. No, shirt and all, I'm saying that first very important part is that you should only give what you can wear yourself, but because of certain reasons you're not wearing or using. Okay. And many times, people get angry, and one of this, I don't know if you heard this example. I run all these examples like tape only again and again, because that's the reality of life. So many times these urban people come to you and say कि नहीं, आजकल तो मेड बहुत बिगड़ गई हैं. तो भाई क्यों बिगड़ गई हैं कि हमने उनको वो सूट दिया था और उन्होंने नहीं लिया, right? They didn't take our suit. And then you come back and you say कि भाई अच्छा क्या वो आपने क्या वो लाल रंग वाला सूट दिया था क्या? I mean, we're just guessing. So suppose she says yes. So that's what we try to tell them, that why do you think that she will accept your red color suit? Why do you think so? I mean, when even when you were wearing it, they were not liking it, but they were forced to look at you because they were a part of your kitchen. But now after wearing for a year or two, you are forcing that lady to accept that suit. She does not need it. It's simple. And even the financially weaker people, हमारे क्योंकि we have distorted lenses, तो हम दूसरे नजरिए से देखते हैं, but they also have the equal heart and the right to choose. Why not? They have the right to choose that we will only say survive in one cloth. We do not need the other part of the cloth. So we have to be very sensitive about it. I mean, you will not believe. Obviously, Goonj has grown because of lots and lots of good material and lots of good people. So I'm not talking about that because that's the positive part of it. But because we deal in volume, so there is also the wrong is also in volume. Large part of the ladies' pajamas which used to come to us, now that design is changing, but they used to come without a nada or a string. Large part of gents' trouser which come to us or jeans which come to us even today do not have a working zip, because that's the giving pattern, unfortunately. कि आपको जो नहीं चाहिए वो आप रख देते हो, because the benchmarking of the financially weaker section is so poor in our mind, or in our brain. And that is the reason that when we are hearing the stories of people have been walking 1,000 kilometers, and for us, many of us, is just a number. We are not able to imagine what does that 1,000 kilometer mean, despite the fact that most of us can't walk even 1 kilometer to go to Mother Dairy to get our milk, on foot. So it's all about that benchmarking, which we are trying to really, make it very realistic and very actual in the entire process.
So I just wanted to talk about this slide that you're saying. I think somebody's to explain actually what happens now. So there's one part of the story which happens in the cities vis-a-vis Gunj's work. And then there's another part of the story to us, I mean, the much more amazing, the magical part of the story. Sorry? So the other part happens in the villages when the material comes in the shapes of family packs to the villages of India, where then the people, the communities across rural India, they take charge of deciding what issues are they going to work on for themselves, what issues are they going to prioritize for themselves, and then decide what solutions are they going to apply to solve those issues. So what you're seeing is, I think, a backwaters in Kerala, where the people after the floods, they said, we want to clean this particular part because our boats are not able to go in. And then the community gets involved in actually taking care of that work. They clean it with their own, they evolve their own solutions to it. They get involved in actually implementing those solutions. They're not working for anyone else. No one decides beforehand for them as to what they should be working on or how they should be solving those problems. And as a reward after the work, everyone who gets involved, they get the material packs, the family packs, which are about 20-25 kgs of like a sack full of material, which has clothes, utensils, footwear. Right now those packs are more of ration and other essentials. They get customized according to the region. Like Anshu was saying about, if there are some parts of India where women wear saris, so then we'll only send saris to those areas, or if suits, or if it's winters, then we'll send woolens, things like that. So we try and customize as much to the needs of people, but the way they get it is as a reward for really having worked on their own issues the way they would want to work on it.
So just to maybe explain it further, what you saw, the first picture was of a bridge in Punya district of Bihar, which was massively flooded. A good sturdy bridge was completely broken, and we were not even able to reach the relief material to the other part of it. And then suddenly these villagers really took over this entire bridge. So the bamboo came from the village, the wisdom came from the village, and you can see the pattern of the bamboo bridge, that in the center they have actually elevated it, because all these people know that more water will go from the center of it. So they've actually made that particular design. It's such a strong, sturdy bridge where 100 people, with everyone has 20-25 kg of material also, can actually cross this particular bridge. 100% designed by the village people, made by the village people. In such projects, such work, spending on this side only a few thousand rupees maximum to buy nails or maybe rassi or wire. And the other thing which is happening in these two things, in this one and the Kerala one, what you saw, it is not that we decided that every village will have a bridge or a road or whatever. It actually comes from the community. They decide that what is needed. We do sit together to do a vision exercise and share the stories of various other states and what people are doing. And you can imagine that in Kerala, what we realized post flood when we entered in Kerala, we found that you actually have less amount of the backwaters which is in working shape, and much more also in absolutely choked and blocked the way it is right now. So why community participates? Because it is decided by the community. And the shirt example, I think what you're talking about is very simple. That I give a shirt to someone and come to you tomorrow and say this shirt belongs to me. You have no option, but most probably you will say that yes, it is yours, because the fact remains that it is mine. And then in the other model, you either make that bamboo bridge, or you make a road, or you clean your pond, or you clean your backwater. You get a shirt. I come to you and say that this shirt belongs to me. You can very nicely tell me in whatever language you can that it might be yours, but I have actually earned it. So it is the dignity, self-respect, apart from economic issues, where we've been able to find out two new currencies: the urban waste material, which otherwise has always been treated as charity, and the rural wisdom and resources. So it is a barter between these two new currencies, and money, which is certainly needed for the logistics, but that's for the logistics of it. In if we were just calculating one of the activity in Kashmir, which we had done, in terms of a large part of Dal Lake cleaning, and we found that if we would have just paid the wages to the people, or would have paid, the hiring charges for the shikara, uh, it would have costed more than 10 lakh rupees in those days, which was basically in where people received the material with dignity and they worked for themselves.
I'll try and see if I can.
There's someone reacting with claps.
Okay, accepted.
I think, okay, you can't start strange. Okay, I think there are. So Goonj has its own YouTube channel where we posted a lot of videos. I'm sorry, I'm not able to go to that film. I can put
That's-
that at the end of
that's
this,
fine.
links and all for that.
Yeah.
There are many examples from all across India. Last year we had, I think, 6,000 plus such projects done by people, communities all across India. And those projects have largely been about where, like, people have prioritized their own issues around water, around infrastructure building like roads and bamboo bridges and repairing roads and things, around sanitation work, around environmental work, planting trees, around education. So the issues have been, the way they've been trying to address those issues, or they want to evolve their solutions, have been coming from them only. They are the ones who decide. They are the ones who evolve their, how they'll design any work around it. I think for us, the biggest learning has been, we both come from urban backgrounds. And when we tell people in the cities that, people have worked for, like, right from 1 day to 10 days to even for a month, for some hours, people have worked to make a bamboo bridge, or repaired like 5 kilometers of road, or done several other things for a sack full of material. People think, yeah, okay, why would anyone do something like that? But I think the crux of it is that when a person is given a choice to decide about their own lives, and they get to design those solutions for themselves, and they get to own those solutions, it just completely changes the whole dynamic of the work. It becomes their work, and that's why they do it. They don't do it only for the material. Actually, material in many cases, once they do something like that with Goonj, they actually, in many parts of India, people have gone and done it without the material, that material being given to them at all. So even if we remove ourselves from the situation, they would still go out and do those things together, because they've learned that we can come together and do this. So this is the sort of a broad look at the model, what I was talking about, the circular economy in practice, where the collection happens from the masses in the cities. It goes through a processing, and it is converted into, some products that we make out of the totally unwearable, unusable stuff. It goes with under the label of Green by Goonj. And we make a whole range of products. If you go on our website, goonj.org, you would see a lot of products are made for village India. Like school bags are made out of torn jeans, and sujnis are made out of last shreds of pieces of clothes. Sujni, many of you would know, is called different things in different parts of rural India. Sujni, Kantha, Godra. So it is something which we are really trying to make value out of every material that cities are creating, not utilizing fully, and seeing how that can become a resource for rural India. The participation happens in cities by individuals, corporates, institutions, schools, colleges. It's a very, very huge network which is in place in cities and villages.
So yeah, I mean, you can continue because I'm looking at some questions also. So once we do this, I'll answer some of those. Yeah.
So
yeah, we will come to the questions.
Yeah.
So we have, so just to add, Juhi, I was just looking at the rural, if you see the rural side of it, disaster has come out to be in the last 20 years, one of the biggest impact areas, because the communities that we work with have been going through continuously through the disasters, and they're becoming more frequent. They're becoming, they're coming to places which had never seen disasters.
Yeah.
So a place in Bundelkhand was under drought for many years, and then one year it had floods. There were parts of Rajasthan which had been in drought for many years, and then 1 or 2 years ago it had floods. So Maharashtra has had floods last year. So the kinds of disasters which are happening, people are not even prepared. I mean, at least in some parts of India, floods are almost an annual thing. So at least the understanding of those floods is different. But in some parts where they've never seen floods or have never seen a drought or have no idea about that disaster, the work on that is needed on a much different level. So we are working on all those aspects as well. Menstrual hygiene came as an issue because when we were looking at the issue of cloth, we realized that women really are struggling for that basic, to deal with their basic biological process every month. And they were not able to even speak up about it. So we were trying to, and that hurts the dignity of women to be going through that kind of a struggle every month and not being able to speak up, not being able to deal with it. So we see that as almost a monthly disaster for women if they're not able to cope with it. Those issues on the rural side have been informing the work. Those understandings about how communities put a lot of value on their self-respect has been informing the work. We often call the villages of India our university, our learning ground. And that's where how the work has also evolved over the years, and it is still evolving as we go. I'll ask Vinay to go to the next slide. So
sorry, Meenakshi, just there's a little time check that we need to do as well.
Sure.
How
much time do we have?
We should at least, there are quite a few interesting questions coming in, so we should probably give at least 20 minutes to questions. So can we try to wrap up the presentation in another 7 odd minutes or so?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Fine.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think let's move to the disaster part right now, because what has happened is that in the last few years, because of this kind of work, as I said, that we have been able to create that grid of relationship of understanding material movement, of understanding the needs, and also understanding the logistics behind all these things. So I think that's the only reason, to be honest. We are not any kind of disaster experts. None of us really face those disasters in our life that way. But in the last few years, it has grown as one of the largest institutions responding to the disaster, just because 24/7 in any case we do these works, and we build up those communities, and also the communities know that how they can really respond, and they will become the stakeholder that way. Next, Vinay. So this is just the timeline. I think this we will leave right now, but it started way back in '99. The moment the registration of the organization happened in February, the Chimoli earthquake happened, and that was a time I think we sent some 5.5 gunny bag of material, which must be in total about 70, 80 kgs of material. Fortunately, it is moved to almost 6,000 tons of material every year now, pan India, and for sure for us, the disaster is not only the disaster which the media calls a disaster. For us, we have been talking about poverty as one of the most
Biggest
important, unfortunate, ongoing disaster.
Yes.
And then fires are very, very large disaster. And Assam, Bihar, and West Bengal and many other floods every year, which unfortunately the country has taken as ritual, is also a disaster for us, and that's where we try to respond. Next. This is just to give you some, glimpses of what we are trying to do. In this, the most important part is the picture which is used in the launch campaign of this work, because these are the people who are walking. I mean, that is very symbolic. So we knew that people will go back. None of us on this earth knew that it will happen in such a massive scale, and it will become a much larger disaster of the displacement and hunger in this particular way. Next. So the approach which is there is for sure the immediate support, right from literally running our own kitchens to supporting a lot of kitchens. Obviously, because this immediate food was needed, and then not only we also right from the beginning we said that every single person is focusing on the migrants. I mean, now they are called migrants. Otherwise, they were they have been living here, and they were just they were not even invisible. Just that we didn't want to see them, so we didn't see those people. So the larger focus actually happened here to start with on the people who were stuck in the cities. Then the focus shifted to the people who are walking, and both of these are extremely important audience or the large number of people. But the third most important thing, which almost every single big initiative, the corporate support, the foundation support missed, was the Indian villages, which are already going through a issue of resources, and then suddenly you have more people and less resources. And if for 2 months the work didn't happen here, for 2 months the earning didn't happen there also. So right from the beginning, we started focusing much more on the response and the disaster in the villages also. And then 2 more initiatives which we are now going to take up is certainly on the livelihood part, and also on the cluster part, that how do we really work on a cluster approach. I'll explain it. Next. So this is just the phase 1, large scale. I think till date we have done almost about 1 million kg of ration and all that. Not a big deal, but whatever little can happen. Next. And most important part for us now, this is the data of because every Friday we punch the data. So last week Friday, this data was punched. Today I was looking at, so it's obviously grown. But more importantly, ready to eat meal, what we could channelize with other sources, and then our own ration kit. Because we work on cloth and we have machines and we have talented women with us, before the lockdown, we started making face masks, and this is also now becoming an important part for us to do it in rural India, and rural, and also the small tailor shops and the women, and also that it also becomes an income generation activity for the people. Next. Rural India itself is neglected in a very big way. We also started talking and started reaching out to much more neglected people, whether you are talking about sex workers or transgenders or differently able or people with disability, the tea garden workers, HIV positive, leprosy patient, weavers, artisans, musicians, the mukhota makers of Purlia to Devadasis in Belgaum, So we activated this entire network of our own, and also literally tied up with many other people who have these institutions working in different areas. So as of now, we are up with about 200 these grassroots organizations in 23 states, if I see today's data, where we are reaching out to people, and certainly focus is all these absolutely missed out communities also. I mean, we just found out that near Bangalore, there's a community which are basically native African and absolutely ignored. Uh, they are settled down here for decades, and obviously lot of social security system they do not have. Absolutely, Ashish, bang on. I'm bad in names, so I didn't try that name. Next. Now, the two very important part. One is the initiative called WAPSI, which we actually tested and did, I think, a good job in Bihar post 2008 Kosi floods. The idea of WAPSI was that how do we really restore the livelihood, and the livelihood does not mean that everyone will make achar, murabba, or papad for urban India. Fine. Can the rural India start producing and making something for themselves? So we actually started mapping two things. One is we said that what is that equipment or something which people have lost in the floods, and the second is that what about the aspirations of people? I mean, how many people wanted to become or to do what all, but they couldn't do because of certain reasons. So we started mapping. We reached out to about 22,000 families post Kosi flood with about 30 different professions. So we said that every village with a population of 300, 400 people and on an average about 200 bicycles must have a puncture shop or between two villages. Why should that person go and travel 3 kilometers, and by the time that person goes to get the puncture repair, even the tube is gone bad? So can we have those puncture shops? Can we have those cobblers or mochis? Can we have more people who do the repairing job of clothes and all? One idea on which we started working, but then now we need to work much more, is we also wanted to work on the roaming tailors, that a guy actually puts a machine on his or her bicycle and then start roaming in a cluster of three four villages, and that's where wherever the repair job is, that person can take over. Fine, I know that right now we have to maintain all the limited movements and physical distance, but I'm sure in next few months or something the time will come and we will again get into that. The other part which we did was also started a lot of village hearts. We called it WAPSI hearts, and the whole idea was that we will not in the initial phase let the big traders enter, and it will be a small heart where if you have more lokis or kaddus, you bring those lokis and kaddus. If you have anda, we will actually give you an omelette kit, which is just a small fry pan and some little material, not even 2,000 bucks. So you start converting those andas into omelette and then start selling it, because that's how you fetch much more money and people also get tasty stuff. One of my favorite story here is of a jalebi maker, where we were mapping the skills and all, and the guy said ki hame kuch nahi aata, I don't know anything. So we started talking more, and then we figured out ki haan, usne in his childhood he was in one of the city and he used to work with a halwai, which is a most common story in India. And then we also found that he is very fond of jalebi. And then we said ki tum jalebi banaoge, if we give you really some jalebi ka thing, can you make it? He said, ha, I can make it. Then he started making jalebi, and I think that's the first time when the jalebi reached that village itself instead of people going to jalebi. And I remember going to this Badgaon area once, and then we really found that the guy was even till 9 o'clock in the night, when the entire hut was closed, this guy was still selling jalebi at a cost of at a price of about 50 rupees a kg. And every third day he was earning almost about 800,000 rupees by selling those jalebis. So that's basically the aspiration or the hidden skills on which we are working. And it's a complete repayment model. Repayment in the sense that we are not charging people in money, because we do not consider money as the only currency. We say that if you have been given a barber kit, can you go and give a haircut to 50 kids in a school? If you are if you're getting a masonry kit, can you go to a village school or a community space and make a chabutra or a platform for the hand pump there? So that's your paying back model. So even that relief kit is actually not a relief kit for you, because that is what you have earned and you have paid in under that barter system. Whatever skill you have, you paid for the community. Next. Now, this is almost the last part of it, because this is something we informally just, you can say, launched before the COVID happened. And we said that there has to be a rapid response, a forum where we do not only listen to media or to the big people that what is a disaster, but we create a platform, we create a forum which is where all those things are just a say click away. So a forum where a couple of transporters join, couple of people who can give material in bulk join, couple of people or many more people who work with the communities across the country or globe, they join. So all of them become a part of the informal or a formal network, with a simple condition that every single person makes some commitment. So the transporter guy comes and says that I will make sure that when a disaster happens, I will make sure that the transport worth 5 lakh or 10 lakh rupees will come from me. A biscuit maker comes and said the moment a disaster happens, I will give away 2 trucks of biscuit. So this is how every single person commit on that. We are not asking for anyone to give us anything upfront. We are saying that the moment a disaster happens, either for that or for the disaster preparation. So like May is the month when you have to prepare for the floods in Assam, Bihar, West Bengal, or cyclones in Odisha, that way. So we should create those depots and post some material and all in advance, so that the moment a disaster happens or the moment Champaran is cut off from the mainland, a hub inside Champaran can stand with people. So that was the whole concept on which we are working, and we want more and more people to join. And COVID has certainly now given us a chance to tell people that disaster is not the subject of north and east of the country. Disaster is next door, that we have, because we have played enough with the science, with the technology, with the environment. And COVID has proved that. And I can tell you, the little part of this guard which we already have, maybe that is one of the reasons that we could scale up despite being inside home, despite being hardcore logistics operation. We are able to scale up because some kind of network is there with us, which we need to now expand and make a much larger network with many more partners. Next. That's it from us. I think, Joey, we completed.
Thank you so much.
Anything you want to?
Anything you want to add, Meenakshi, before we go on to the Q&A?
Yeah, I think let's go to the Q&A. I think.
Great. There are some people who are okay for us to push this till about 5:45, but some very interesting questions that have come up. And what I'm going to try and do is the people who've asked those questions, try to get them online directly to speak to you. So Sarita R, if you're on the call, you've got she's got a couple of questions which are around village-based community and how the barter system works. And also she added another part to it, which is to do with, the whole migration exercise, which you've spoken a bit, but let's just see if she wants to ask her question in a collective way. Sarika, can you switch on your mic and speak to Anshu and Meenakshi yourself?
Yes, Juhi, this is Sarita Ragde. Anshuji, yes. You had come to our school, DLRC, so I'm happy to see you again. I wanted to ask a very preliminary question, whether the village communities trust the urban folk to work with them, especially in a barter system like this. That's one of my key questions, because I would love to volunteer my time, but I'm just very wary about how we are perceived being the urban folk.
My answer to that is that it's all how we behave, fine, and I'm being very upfront on this, because till the time we will leave our urban arrogance and the arrogance that we know everything and we speak many languages and all that. I think that is one of the biggest bottleneck in this work. You can imagine that the country is talking about that after all this Narega and all that kind of stuff, people have become lazy, or this free rice, people have become lazy and people do not work. I think the model of cloth for work, if you are talking about say 6,000 odd activities, and even if you engage like 100 people in all those activities, approximately, some activities more, some activities less, you can imagine that 6 lakh people actually come up and work not for money, and to be honest, not even for cloth. That's also a misconception. We are all set to change the name Cloth for Work now very soon, because it's no more Cloth for Work. We know it that people do it because this is the first time or very rare time when people are valued for what they are. When someone has gone and asked them that what is the need and how will you solve your own problem, we are just here to stand with you. We are not here to tell you that this is how the blast should happen in the well, or this is how the bridge should be made of a bamboo, because none of us even know how to make a bamboo bridge. So I think we are able to do it just because we also took time, because we are also coming from the same urban education system and upbringing. Largely we also must have taken a lot of time, but I think when we surrendered, we started working in a much better way with the people, and people started trusting us much more. And I can tell you that the village communities are the most beautiful, most honest communities. These are our wrong perceptions about the people, and this entire disaster, the migrant crisis, has actually proved that. I'll give you a very simple example. One of the person, two members were going, in Mayur Vihar or somewhere. They So there was this elderly person who was on the footpath and lying around. So these two people of my team went there and offered some biscuits and all to this person. Now this person says thank you कि भाई बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. अच्छा ये बताइए कि मैं क्या ये किसी के साथ बांट सकता हूँ? Can I really share these biscuits with someone? Look at even in the present time, people are so graceful about it, and every single person who is in the slum is actually not from the city, because slums are not the extension of the cities. Slums are the extension of the villages. These are the people who have come from the village. So I can tell you that you should not have any apprehension. Surrender yourself and go in a learning mode, and people will do wonders, and we will only actually stand and watch things happening, and that's what we do.
Can I just
Thank you, Anshu. Thank you so much.
Anshuji.
I just wanted to add that
Yeah.
one of the major works, in non-disaster time for Goonj, has been to talk to people in the cities about this whole mindset around disasters. We have a whole series of exhibitions and social media interactions and other things just to break some myths about disasters, break some myths about people, get them to understand that there is a lot of value and there's a lot of wisdom which is sitting in our villages. So it is, of course, the mindset that Anshu is talking about. We've been trying to do it in normal times when there isn't a disaster, so that when a disaster happens, you do not have to then deal with it. Of course, it's been a work going on for like 20 years, and some of the result of that we see in how we are able to build up on our work very quickly in the time of a disaster. That's a result of how we've been constantly talking to people in the cities, and there's a whole community of volunteers, people who have come and supported Goon's work, and that's how we've been able to build it.
Great. I'm going to make this quick. There's actually Mangal Saha, and I think he's from a village in Bihar. One of your Goonj members said he has a question. Mangalji, क्या आपको question directly पूछना है Anshu or Meenakshi से? Do you want to ask the question directly? You can put your mic on and talk to them directly. I think he's still on the call. Mangalji, can you hear us? No.
Can I ask on behalf of Mangal?
Yes, please, Ekta. Please, thank you.
Hi Anshu, hi Meenakshi.
Hello, Ekta.
So Mangal जो है, he's from a village in Bihar. और इसका भाई ग्राम पंचायत का हेड है. And they are seeing a lot of migrants coming back into their village. कटिहार इनका डिस्ट्रिक्ट है. अंशु आप प्लीज या मीनाक्षी आप हिंदी में बताइएगा इसको. ही वांट्स टू नो कि ये कैसे एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपने विलेज के लिए क्रिएट कर सकता है और गूंज किस तरह से उसको हेल्प कर सकता है.
कैसे किया है
तो मैं बहुत साफ इसका जवाब देता हूँ. ठीक है, देखिए क्या है कि हमने बड़ा बुरी तरीके से खून पिया है गांव का पिछले कुछ सालों में दबा के, है ना. मतलब मैं जो कहता हूँ ना कि हम, आपने तो एकता सुना है ये सब, मैं दोबारा से टेप ही रन कर रहा हूँ कि हम सब सब्सिडी के सबसे बड़े प्रोडक्ट हैं और हमको सब्सिडी देने वाला जो है वो एक्चुअली किसान है ना. हम दावा करते हैं कि हम किसान को सब्सिडी देते हैं, किसान हमको सब्सिडी देता है क्योंकि उसको तो मिनिमम वेजेस भी नहीं मिलती. तो हमने बहुत ही एक साजिश करी हुई है एक तरह से पूरे हमारे जैसे सब लोगों ने इस काम की. वरना सवाल ये है कि हम ये क्यों कहते हैं कि 70% पॉपुलेशन गांव में है. हम ये क्यों नहीं कहते कि 70% कस्टमर भी तो गांव में है, कंज्यूमर भी तो गांव में है. ऐसा क्यों होता है कि गांव का हर एक इंसान सिर्फ शहर के लिए बनाएगा? क्यों उगाएगा वो बासमती राइस? पहले अपने लिए तो राइस उगाएगा जो उसको पसंद आएगा. क्यों वो आज सब्जी नहीं बो रहा और कैश क्रॉप बो रहा है? कितने गांव के ऐसे किसान हैं जो कॉटन के कपड़े पहनेंगे? तो वो कॉटन क्यों उगा रहा है? क्योंकि मेरा रैकेट है, मुझे कॉटन उगाना है, मुझे खाद बेचनी है, मुझे उसको वैल्यू ऐड करके बड़े बड़े स्टोर्स में 3-3 हज़ार रुपए के कुर्तों में बदल के बेचना है. हम लोगों ने बहुत ही साजिश करके ये सोचा है. आप सोचिए कि कितने सारे ऐसे जगह, आज कितने दुख की बात है जब हम लोग इस कोविड पे काम कर रहे हैं तो जो सबसे बड़ा एक और सफरर और मिसिंग कम्युनिटी है वो क्राफ्टमैन है, वो आर्टिस्ट है, वो म्यूजिशियन है इस देश का. राइट? ऐसा कैसे हुआ कि उस सामान को बेचने वाला इंसान तो करोड़पति बन गया शहर में और उसको बनाने वाले इंसान के पास आज 2 वक्त की रोटी नहीं है? ये कैसे हुआ? क्योंकि हमने क्या किया कि हमने एक रेट फिक्स कर दिया और ये कहा कि नहीं, हम तो उन्हें अच्छे रेट दे रहे हैं, कम से कम उनकी रोटी तो बनती है. कितने लोगों के घर पक्के हो गए, हमारे तो यहाँ महल बन गए, बड़े बड़े स्टोर बन गए, पर उनके तो घर नहीं बने. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ये टाइम है जहाँ पर गांव के इंसान को गांव में रहना चाहिए और फिक्र मत करिए एम्प्लॉयमेंट की. बहुत सीधी सी बात है, गांव के हर घर को 2 झाड़ू चाहिए, 2 छीके चाहिए जिस पर वो कुछ लटका दे, 2 चटाइयाँ चाहिए, 4 चटाइयाँ चाहिए, गुदड़ी चाहिए, टोकरियाँ चाहिए, हाथ के पंखे चाहिए. और ये तो मैं सिर्फ बैम्बू और रस्सी की बात कर रहा हूँ. अभी मैं और चीज़ों पे जा ही नहीं रहा जो वहाँ पे रॉ मटेरियल अवेलेबल है. तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि गांव का इंसान क्यों एक डिजाइनर प्रोडक्ट बनाता रहता है और कारपेट वीव करता रहता है न्यूयॉर्क के बाजार में बिकने के लिए, वो सबसे पहले अपने लिए दरी क्यों नहीं बनाता? तो बहुत बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम गांव की इकॉनमी को इस हिसाब से देखें. सबसे पहले तो जो वहाँ पे पानी से रिलेटेड जितने भी पालन है, आप उड़ीसा जाइए और आप उड़ीसा में वहाँ के पॉन्ड्स की बेकदरी देखिए. आई मीन सी ऑल द ईस्ट, मतलब मैं हिंदी में ही बोलता हूँ इसको. आप सारे उत्तर भारत को देखिए, ईस्टर्न रीजन को देखिए और भी कई इलाकों को देखिए, जो भी तालाब पर बेस्ड है, जहाँ तालाब में पानी मिलता है, वो तालाब इतनी बुरी तरह से इग्नोर्ड है. उन सारे तालाबों में मछली क्यों नहीं पाली जा सकती? उन सारे तालाबों के चारों ओर सब्जी क्यों नहीं लगाई जा सकती? गाँव की महिला को कैसे एनीमिया हो जाता है? गाँव की महिला तो बहुत आसानी से पालक और साग उगा सकती है, बट हम कभी बात ही नहीं कर रहे. हमने करा है उड़ीसा में बहुत सारी जगह पे, हमने खेत लगाए लोगों के, 500-500 800 रुपए पे पीस उनको लैंड के मिलने लग गए किराए पे, क्योंकि बंजर जमीन पड़ी हुई थी. और वो सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप ने सब्जियां उगाई और उनकी सबसे बड़ी खुशी इस बात की है कि उन्होंने जिंदगी में पहली बार इतनी सब्जी खाई. वो वहां से दाल उगा रहा है, हम यहाँ से दाल भेज रहे हैं उसको पॉलिश कर करके. अरे अपनी सब्जी उगाइए, खाइए आराम से. तो हमें दूसरे तरीके से देखना पड़ेगा. हम ये मान के चलें कि पहले 70% कस्टमर थे गाँव में, कोविड की कृपा से 80% हो जाएंगे शायद. मतलब जो भी होगा, मुझे एक्चुअल फिगर नहीं पता क्योंकि किसी को भी नहीं पता आजकल एक्चुअल फिगर, बट जो भी होगा उसमें कुछ बढ़ गया होगा और अच्छा भला बढ़ गया होगा.
थैंक्स अंशु.
तो हम गांव को गांव के लिहाज से देखें बस.
Perfect. एंड एक्चुअली इसको लेके आगे आशीष के पास 2-3 बहुत अहम सवाल हैं गांव और पंचायत, ग्राम सभा, इन सब पे। तो आशीष, क्या आप ये सवाल करना चाहेंगे खुद अंशु जी से?
जी हाँ, जरूर। मैं सोच रहा था लास्ट में जाऊंगा, लेकिन
इट कनेक्ट्स, दैट्स व्हाई आई पुट यू फॉरवर्ड।
जी हाँ, बहुत ही अच्छा लग रहा है अंशु और मीनाक्षी सुन के। आपके काम के बारे में थोड़ा बहुत था, लेकिन आपसे खुद से सुनना, अंशु से से और मीनाक्षी से सुनना बहुत बढ़िया लग रहा है। मेरे 2-3 सवाल थे। एक तो ये था कि गांव में जो भी काम हो रहा है उसका इंस्टीट्यूशनल स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, उसका ढांचा क्या है? जैसे ग्राम सभा या पंचायत के जरिए होता है, या कुछ खास आप अलग से इंस्टीट्यूशंस क्रिएट करते हैं, या फिर सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप्स जो हैं उनसे वगैरह, या अलग अलग जगह पे अलग अलग है? एक तो ये सवाल है, क्योंकि इसमें सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात जैसे आपने ही कही कि आप निकल गए, गूंज निकल गया वहाँ से, या जो भी आपके पार्टनर संस्था है वो निकल गए, उसके बाद गांव के लोग खुद, जब तक कि कोई एक ऐसा ढांचा शुरू नहीं होगा जिससे वो एक सिस्टम में आ जाए, तो फिर वो आगे जाके चलेगा या नहीं चलेगा, वो बहुत बड़ा सवाल उठता है। दूसरा मेरा एक सवाल था कि आप
रूरल टू रूरल,
सॉरी, हाँ, नहीं, रूरल टू रूरल भी है, तो सिटी टू रूरल के बारे में तो आपने बताया, लेकिन आजकल गांव में भी क्लास स्ट्रक्चर्स काफ़ी हैं और काफ़ी अमीर लोग गांव में भी है। तो केवल अमीर की बात नहीं है, लेकिन लाइफस्टाइल, सिटी लाइफस्टाइल्स गांव में भी पहुंच गई हैं। तो क्या रूरल टू रूरल का भी एक मॉडल है आपके उसमें? और तीसरे अगर जोड़ दूं इसमें, यह है कि कम्युनलिज्म और कास्ट इश्यूज क्या आपके आड़े आती हैं, और खासकर आज के माहौल में जिसमें कोविड को भी एक कम्युनलाइज्ड बना दिया गया है, मुस्लिम वायरस वगैरह कह के, या फिर कास्ट इश्यूज जो आ रही हैं, वो आपके आड़े आती हैं और उसको आप कैसे डील करते हैं?
आई थिंक जो पहला वाला सवाल है आपका, आपने कहा कि आप जानना चाहते हैं इंस्टीट्यूशनल मॉडल।
मीनाक्षी प्लीज, वी कांट हियर यू।
should I come closer? Is it
बस, हाँ, परफेक्ट, थैंक यू।
तो वो जो इंस्टीट्यूशनल वाली बात करी आपने आशीष,
सॉरी, मैंने आई जस्ट रियलाइज कि मैंने पूरा हिंदी में ही पूछा। इज देयर एनीबॉडी हु नीड्स अ ट्रांसलेशन इनटू इंग्लिश?
You can answer in English maybe.
Yeah, maybe if you could just repeat that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the first question, I'll try and look into that, and maybe Anshu can take up the other points. The part about what is the institutional structure of how it goes into villages is that we do not we are not focused on one particular, so it's very customized to the local needs. And because we have a sort of a very strong partner network, that partner network then takes it up on a their connect of the local community plays a big role in that. And wherever our local teams are there, they play, so it's not a one-off relationship. These partners are embedded in those communities, or our teams are embedded in those communities, so it's an ongoing relationship. But it really responds to the people who are either interested in doing something for the community, or it starts with the point of a need, that people who are in need. So it's those 2 points which really bring together people in the first instance of trying to identify their issues. So typically if there is a rich farmer in a village, he doesn't need anything. Like, he doesn't need to actually come and clean his water body, or he doesn't have a water issue, or doesn't want to get involved in the repair of a road and all. So that need is then articulated by the people who are on the lowest strata of that village also. And we engage that lowest strata to actually, and it's a very interesting way of sort of filtering out people who don't actually need, जिनका पेट भरा हुआ है जिसे कहते हैं, उनको they're not first off engaged. But there are a lot of people who, even though they don't need the material, they want to do something for their village, so they get engaged. But the first way of engaging is the material becomes a kind of a motivator for people to come together because they need it.
So Ashish, or just to elaborate, we are an absolute open institution that way. So if you see the tie-ups of Goonj is with large number of community-based organization, units of Indian Army, border road organization, in some places panchayat, in some places some schools, local schools and their teachers, in some places two youth who had a spark in their eyes and they wanted to do something with the village. So we even have a partnership model from them कि भाई आप अपने आधार कार्ड और इसका कॉपी हमको दे दो तो हमारे लिए आप भी इंस्टीट्यूशन हो. We will work much more closely with you. So it has been very open structure. Panchayats, yes, but panchayats are not our that favorite as of now. Okay, because over a period we have seen that how panchayats are much bigger political setup, and with all these caste community and all issues, so उनके वो और बर्बाद हो गया है structure. And COVID is one of the biggest example of it. What we can see that in many areas, what all of us are getting reports, and because our teams are there, that it is basically on the basis of who did you vote last time, and that's how the relief is given to so many people. So panchayats are not our particular favorite, because they, unfortunately, in many cases they have their own coteries, and all the benefits of that ultimately go to that coterie only. So we are not fundamentally against that, against panchayat, but yes, we are, I think, much more choosy and careful when we work with panchayats. Rural to rural, I think what we need to understand, whether you talk about the maintenance of work in the village, कि जब हम निकल जाते हैं तो whether it remains there or not, or the participation of other people in rural and all, I think it's all about the culture which we are trying to build up. What we are trying to say that if you make it, you maintain it. So that's how most of the ponds and all which are cleaned under these initiatives, or bridges which are made, are actually much better maintained, because there is a sense of ownership among the people. It's not like an NGO or a contractor or the government came and built it, but these people built it, and also while building it, they decided that it is our need. So that's how the ownership is much bigger, and that is the reason that even if we move out, it is maintained in a good way. Rural or smaller town, things have already started happening. There are many examples where, like if you see Khandwa, for example, and many other places, where people in some parts of Khandwa have started giving away the material, because now they have found a way, or some method in the madness of giving, and some target audience there. Third thing, caste and community, for sure, sometime it creates a problem. But to be honest, we don't remember in the last 2 decades that there are some areas where, because of the caste and community issues, we had to come out, or we had to run from there, or we had to stop our work. In some cases, yet it took more time, because you had to go back and look for better community leaders or opinion leaders, or tie up with those people and all that. But as I always say, that all these work, Ashish, you know it very well, it is like a war, and war we never win with the weapons, war we win with the strategy. So I think it's a very localized solution and relationships and all, which we try to build on the basis of some of the non-negotiables, for sure. Hope I answered.
Thank you, Anshu. Ashish, you had one more question around the valuation of the work.
Yeah, but is there somebody else before?
Yes, there is Sadhana Ji who has 2 questions. Sadhana Ji, do you want to ask your questions, which are around actually training of upcycling, and does Goonj offer training to other groups and communities? Sadhana Ji, do you want to ask the question yourself?
I think you have worded it, Juhi, so hopefully...
Sorry, can't hear you, Sadhana Ji.
Hello. Hello, can I speak? Can you hear me?
It's very faint.
Oh. Anyway, you have asked my question. So
okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Then we have Amit, who wants to know about when an urban material gets transferred to a rural system, we shift a part of a culture to the other. Can you please share views on this, and how people in the rural areas see these materials in terms of acceptance, and what changes it brings to the local aspirations?
Juhi, was Sadhana's question answered?
She said that it was answered.
Oh, I thought she said that it was asked.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was not
So-
answered. You asked my question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sadhana ji, I mean, question to your answer.
Sorry, can't hear.
I think we are an organization which is talking about replication and copy of ideas, and we are even saying that we are giving a copyright to copy our ideas. So I think Meenakshi can share more, but we are all set to launch a series of videos where we are saying that this is how you can make a sanitary pad. You know, अपने घर में you can make a sanitary pad. This is how you can make an undergarment out of your old hosiery material. And of course, now we have also added the face mask in that. You know, that's also I don't know for how long it will become an integral part of our life. तो आजकल हम फेस मास्क बनाने का भी वीडियो रिलीज कर रहे हैं. तो होपफुली बाय मंडे और सो वो डिले हो रहा है हमारी तरफ से थोड़ा, क्योंकि we are also working on different models of it, like if you see our sanitary pad which we produce now needs we used to do it with a machine now because we were stitching. So the video was like that. So we are now turning it into something where we are saying our earlier model where we used to make it by hand, because not everyone will have a machine. So it's an absolutely open source, and plus we are absolutely happy that whenever the physical distancing issue is over, we are absolutely happy to have more and more people to come and see and learn from here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anything to add?
No, I was.
Thank you. Sorry for that muddle, Sadhana ji.
No, I
No,
was just
I
saying
think thank you so much.
Thank you.
There are two more questions from Amit. Amit, do you want to ask your question directly? Though I was trying to read it out from the chat box. Amit?
So my question is, because I work in Bundelkhand as part of Wildlife Institute of India, and I work in forested communities where people are inside the forest. And when I go there as a researcher, I find in so many situations a sense of inferiority in people when they see me. It doesn't matter how much it depends on what kind of clothes I wear, and in all those things it matters a lot. But when these materials like anything which is made in urban centers get transferred to a rural system, how do you find aspirations changing in the minds of people?
So Amit, my answer to that is that aspirations have already gone wrong or gone right, whatever we call it, because aspirations का काम इस देश में टीवी ने किया, फिर व्हाट्सएप ने किया, फिर वीडियोस ने किया. So aspirations are already there. I mean, in Bundelkhand you must have seen, because we also extensively work in Bundelkhand and I have also traveled. You know it that a large number of young farmers, if at all young farmers are there in farming, they are actually wearing a t-shirt and Bermuda instead of a dhoti, which is a common thing across the country. I don't know if you know it, that one of the most sought after profession for the lady. So when the development sector and corporate sector and government schemes come and say ki we have to employ women and the young girls, they again think of achar, papad murabba or some stitching job, because that's how traditionally we all have been thinking. But one of the most sought after profession or employment by even the village girl is actually a small beauty parlor. I mean, they are just looking for it ki unko they need a few thousand rupees support, so that and they are also doing the making sure that whatever travel they have to do, whatever way they have to do, they are trained to do that job, because that's the aspiration. We are very careful in some cases for sure that at least the under or the oversized clothing and other material that does not enter in the village. That any village, we are very, very careful about it. I'm not saying that we are 100% foolproof in that system, but we are making sure that all in many cases which you call vulgar, I don't know whether it is vulgar or not, these are our perceptions about so many things, but yes, we make sure that those kind of fancy things and all do not enter in the villages. We are careful about it.
I just wanted to add one more. I think this much more fundamental thing. We've talked about the feeling of inferiority. that you sort of experience that they have. I think it has to do with again, people like us going into these communities over the last decades and decades, and getting them to understand or making them think that what they have is not of value, whether it is their clothes or their culture or how they live or do things. It's all of those things, and like Anshu was saying that, and then that translates into everything that is not their own being considered aspirational. But yeah, I mean, at Goonj, we're very conscious of the fact that we want them to not just be valuing, uh, small things, but also their own self. That's the whole principle that we work on. That what they have is of value for them to. It's almost like reminding them that they have forgotten about their dignity. They've forgotten about their efforts, what they are capable of doing.
Wisdom.
Their own wisdom. All of those things is something that I think somewhere collectively, all of us, people like us who wear good clothes and, like Anju says, speak more than one or two languages, have made them believe that they don't have anything of value.
Or jahan tak, one very, just to say, on a lighter note, when we send the shoes to people, fine, you will not believe you're talking about aspiration, that how the TV and the media has really done this so beautifully or so drastically, that people actually look for the Adidas and the Nike brand in those shoes, even in the remote areas, the youngsters, and hardly anyone is actually ready to take the Bata that way, because that's how the marketing and advertising has taken over everything in this country and has reached everywhere, unfortunately.
Thanks. Yeah, difficult to even react to something like that. It's a little sad. Anjali Dalmia has a question on, I think, how's all the plastic from packaging of these supplies that, she saw some picture and said that, how do you manage that? How is the plastic being reused? Anjali ji, if you're on the call, do you want to ask your question directly?
Hello, thank you for the wonderful talk. I just wanted to ask you, so all of these supplies which are transported from the cities to the rural areas, what is the packaging that is used? And I see some pictures in your presentation where there were lots of plastic bags and things like that. So are those also reused? Are plastic materials that are coming from the city also turned into products? How are those used?
Do you want to answer that? I mean,
yeah, please.
No, I think in this particular, the pictures that you saw in this particular COVID time, I think there are a lot of logistical limitations of reaching. Otherwise, we are reaching, if you see the cloth pads that Goonj makes, we package it in, we are very conscious of packaging it in cloth bags or any other material that we try. So our effort is always, in past disasters also, our effort has been to be very conscious that there is plastic going in, or even plastic water bottles when people are trying to sort of give in disasters. That has been a very conscious thing. But in this disaster especially, there is a huge logistical limitation that you're not able to reach out the kind of cloth bags and other things that we want to reach out to the last mile. So we have to then sort of deal with whatever is locally possible to get and do.
So as a basic principle and a very hardcore practice, none of our material is packed in a plastic bag at all. I mean, you can imagine what Mini is saying, that even the sanitary pad, which is certainly every other single pad is packed in a plastic bag, we have made a cloth bag for that and then do it. COVID, all other disasters except initial few days when you enter, say in Kerala, and then obviously you are not ready with the system, so you have no option but to buy some plastic bags, because for at least atta, chawal, chini, especially for the ration, you need that plastic bag. But then we move out and we start making our own bags. This one now in this particular disaster, because the delivery is absolutely local, we are not using the typical hub and spoke model of Gunj, where we create a huge hub and then transport material. The almost about 1 million kg of material which we have channelized is basically locally purchased from the smallest possible stores, and even the packing material is purchased from there, and that's how this unfortunately this plastic is there. But the moment we started getting more permissions for more people, I mean, today if you come to Delhi center has started making cloth bags, and the packing of a lot of material including chana and many things is actually happening in a cloth bag, because that is a multi-purpose bag in any case, and that way all. And this disaster is of the nature you will not believe. I told my team first time and they were like surprised at why am I saying this. I said that even if someone is giving you 200 ml water bottle, take it. We bluntly used to say no to 200 ml water bottle, because we always used to say that even in flight you get angry when you get only 200 ml water. But out here these millions of people are walking, so you have no option. People just need everything right now. But there's just one more simple point, like the way every disaster actually has huge amount of biscuits. So I remember how we operated in some parts of Uttarakhand, where these biscuits went up in huge quantities. And then we used to have a system in the village where we used to say that all the wrappers need to be collected at one place. And whenever next vehicle come in that area to drop the material, we will carry all these small plastic bottles to polythenes to packing material to biscuit wrappers and all. And we actually used to get a lot, from there back in Rishikesh. Now Rishikesh, you hand over it to municipality. Municipality does what with it? That's a question in any case as of now.
Thanks, Anshu. I think with regards to the, talking about biscuits, etc., there was Romi Sharma who had a question about, she wanted to know what food items that can you give apart from the khana that is served to the people who are walking on the highways.
So for sure biscuits and toffees, okay, that's extremely important. Any kind of drink, if you can even serve fruits. First, let me talk about food item, and then most importantly, I'll talk about non-food items, which we are not thinking through. But that's where Gunj is really getting majorly into it, especially for the migrants, which is very unfortunate. We all are preparing and responding to something which shouldn't have happened at all. And we are now actually preparing to give them chappals and shoes and whatnot. So food items for sure, the biscuits and all kind of snacks, and if possible, the fruits. We are also working on chana, because what is happening right now is that the rice is going bad because of this season, because of this temperature. But if it is kala chana, which is just boiled and little bit fried without onion, without tomato, that's the most important thing, because that lasts long and that also brings some energy for that. And if any kind of energy thing which is available, all these energy food and all, which we all used to buy, if we can actually give that. The other important part is the non-food item, which needs, these women are walking for many days. So right from undergarments to towels to sanitary pads, which we need to give. We are even, yesterday we started giving prams to the kids. Because we get these fancy prams from all across. So because now people have to walk, so the little kids can go in that. If nothing else, they can put their luggage at least for a few kilometers in the time that pram will last. The suitcases, the bags, the bottles, the water bottles with water, even if these are reusable water bottles. So all those things, whatever the umbrellas in this sunlight, the chappals, the sports shoes, the caps, the sunglasses, whatever is lying with you guys, all that is important for the people on road as of now. Unfortunately, because of all these lockdown and restrictions, we are not able to accept second-hand goods from the people right now. But all of us can do this role, come outside our homes and give it whosoever is walking. Whatever we had in our stores, obviously in the next couple of 4 or 5 days, our stores will be empty for sure. We are getting into that scale.
Thanks, Anshu. This is amazing. There's Amitabh ji. I think his question is really great because we need to now also look at moving forward. For in from the futuristic perspective. So Amitabh ji, if you're still on the call, do you want to ask your question, please? I think it's interesting. It's about how do we reach out more to the community workers. Amitabh ji?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your insights. It was really, such an inspiration to listen to you. I'm not a part of this community, but I've been listening to many of these forums. I just wanted to understand that sometimes many of these community workers, they work in cross purposes, right? I mean, the intentions may be good, but not necessarily with the right kind of insights. These forums will be limited and people will have little access to these kind of forums. How does one create a platform wherein people can learn so that they know the purpose, the cause, the effect, and the way to go forward?
Amitabh ji, is this a question that you want any one of us to answer? Is it specific to Meenakshi and Anshu?
Oh, it's open to everybody. I was just asking this question because these seems to come. People who know a lot do much better. People who don't know much seem to get lost.
Yeah. Anshuji, do you want to take a...
No, I think you can respond. I think I didn't understand the question well.
How do they get to?
Basically, I think...
Paraphrase that.
Sorry. I think what Amitabh ji is trying to ask is and I know Amitabh ji's been on all our Vartas up till now, and there are a lot of these discussions that we are having where ideas are being shared. We're trying to find out solutions collectively. Like Goonj has now shared how they are working and what are they doing and also helping us to know how we could do what we want to do. I think his question is, how do these dialogues reach like the community workers, the people who are actually working on the ground? What do we do to create platforms? And so that's basically what I think he's trying to ask us.
So I think now, in any case, there were a lot of dialogues. Fine, large number of institutions. Even when I see this beautiful group run by you, Join and Ashish, and all, I think your focus always has been these communities and the interaction with those people. All these pictures which we saw in the initial phase of presentation is that only.
Yeah.
So a large number of institutions have been doing that and have been doing that wonderfully. That is the reason the entire SHG movement has come up, and so many community-based organizations have come up. I'm pretty sure that now that the world is moving to the Zooms and the webinars and all that, I think the reach of the connect of lot of people will be much better, because now you can actually reach these people, and the people can reach. I mean, all of us can reach each other in a much better way. At least for some time. I do not want this to remain forever, but because we need to hug each other. That's how the life goes on. That's the most missing thing these days. But for the time being, at least to make use of this curve, I'm sure that we all should really reach out to more people in those areas and do these webinars and all much more together, learn from them and share our point of view. Point taken, and already happening, a lot of it. But I think once we come out of this hunger part, we can spend more time in building those things for sure.
So Amitabh ji, just to add on to what Anshuji said, as you've seen that we've really tried that every Varta, we do find people from the communities that we are trying to address to also come on to the webinar. Because 5-6 लोग या 2-4 लोग ही उस कम्युनिटी से या रूरल स्पेस से हमारे वार्ता में भाग लेते हैं, then हमको पता है the voice is reaching out to a larger platform, and that's been our attempt. Abhi, when we were trying to even invite Meenakshi ji and Anshu ji onto this call, we were asking them also कि आपके कुछ कार्यकर्ताओं को भी ले आइए if you can on the call, but we realized we wanted to learn more from Goonj's initiatives for future intervention. So we said, "ठीक है, ये एक call, we'll keep it to listening to them." So we are, as we've always said, the Vartas are open for everybody, and it is our sincere attempt to actually reach more ground-based people. क्योंकि हाँ, हम लोगों के बीच में तो बहुत सारे webinar हो ही रहे हैं, but how are these platforms being taken to the rural? And one of the good things that have happened, and actually Ashish has gone off the call, and I think that's why he has gone off the call, is we had a webinar 2 weeks earlier with Weavers of Kutch, with the help of a organization called Khameer there. And now Khameer has come up with their own series of webinars, and the first one starts today, which is engaging the local Kutch population more. And the director of Khameer actually sent me a message saying that, this has happened because of the offshoot of the Varta that we had. So I think ये एक वो ripple effect शुरू हो रहा है. So it would move on. That's our only sincere effort. I think we've really overshot time, and maybe we should wrap up. But anyway, last words. Anything, Meenakshi and Anshu, that you want all of us to pay attention to going forward?
I think the people like us, we sort of are between different worlds, and for us the only thing is that people who are not on this particular call or such calls, we can at best be the stewards of bringing those voices and be in the service of those people and learn from those people. And that's the only way forward. I think there's been a lot of speaking down to or being the expert to those people. And I think we should sort of step aside. We should let people speak up, and if the showing of their will and their agency is the whole reverse migration that is happening, I think we must accept the will and the voice of people and say this is what they want to do, and we should just be in the service of that.
Thank you so much.
Juhi, I need to my point is कि एक तो team available है, so we can always weave a communication like this with the team from the field. Goonj in any case is all set to do a weekly conversation like this, with a larger number of people, and please they can always come and talk and share.
Wow,
Second, जो बहुत important part है हम सब लोगों के लिए वो ये है कि पर्सनली मुझे लगा कि मैं पहली बार जिंदगी में 20-21 साल के किसी डिजास्टर में इतनी बुरी तरह से टूटा हूँ, या मैं इतना दुखी हुआ हूँ, क्योंकि मुझे अपने पे ही और सब पे शक होने लगा. मतलब मुझे लगा कि ये लाखों लोग उठ के कैसे चले गए, इनका ना तो किसी सरकारों पे भरोसा है, ना किसी एम्प्लॉयर पे भरोसा है, ना किसी इंडस्ट्री पे भरोसा है, ठेकेदार पे भरोसा है, हम पे भरोसा, किसी पे भरोसा नहीं है. मतलब तो हमने किया क्या ये ह्यूमैनिटी के साथ में, व्हाट हैव वी डन विद द फेलो ह्यूमन बीइंग, राइट? तो अभी भी हम वर्कर की फिक्र कर रहे हैं, हम वो उस इंसान की फिक्र नहीं कर रहे. हम अभी भी ये कह रहे हैं 14 मर गए, 14 इंसान मर गए, 14 माइग्रेंट लेबर नहीं मरे, 14 इंसान मर गए, 14 लोगों के परिवार तबाह हो गए, राइट? मतलब ये जो लैंग्वेज, जो घटिया लैंग्वेज पे हम लोग उतर आए हैं बुरी तरीके से, और जिसने तो हम कुछ भी करते रहेंगे, यदि हमारी वो एरोगेंस नहीं जाएगी तो हम नहीं सुधरेंगे. मतलब मैं ये बस मान के चलता हूँ. तो मैं तो लोगों से कह रहा हूँ कि भाई वायरस शुड नॉट अफेक्ट अस मे बी financially or virus should not affect our health, but virus must affect our thought process.
Yes.
Virus must affect our the way we have been living. तो मैं तो वो पूरा कोविड ही लिखने लगा हूँ. my poetry is back, और उसकी पहली पोएट्री यही थी कि तुम वापस मत आना. मतलब इतनी बेइज्जती हमने करके तुमको निकाला है, तो तुमको वापस आने का मतलब ही नहीं. हमें तड़पना चाहिए यहाँ पर चावल के लिए, तब तुम कभी हमारी सोचना, वरना कोई मतलब नहीं बनता. मैं तो आई मीन वेरी, अब मेरी कविता से वो रुक जाएंगे ऐसा नहीं है, बट दैट इज हाउ वी नीड टू रियली लुक एट लाइफ नाउ इन दिस फेज. देयर इज नो पोस्ट कोविड, क्योंकि अभी तो चल ही रहा है कोविड. सो इन दिस फेज आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. हम लोग एक दूसरे को अभी हग तो नहीं कर सकते बट देख सकते हैं. So I want to request everybody to switch on their cameras so that we see each other at least before we say bye. Can everyone switch on the cameras? आप अपने सब अपने cameras on कर लो and we can all say bye to each other.
Yes.
That's
a great idea. At least we see each other.
And all of us are exposed. जो 3 दिन से नहीं आए हैं, people are exposed.
चलेगा. लेकिन यही एक छोटी चीज हम कर सकते हैं. हमारे संगम्स होपफुली वापस आएंगे और जोर और शोर से आएंगे. लेकिन ये वार्ता has to go on. The dialogues have to go on. Yes, we have to live with the hope that we become more human. Everyone becomes more human. It's, I think each of our talks, this is again another very overwhelming dialogue. I'm sure everyone who's been on our previous calls will agree.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank you for what you do, both of you and the entire team of Goonj. I think there are a lot of us who want to volunteer and continue to do whatever we can with you and with other groups. So we will share their email addresses. I think Meenakshi's already done so. Please feel free to send them mails of how you could do what you can. And really thank you all. I think someone like me has this selfish thing now, looking forward to seeing everybody every weekend. So thank you for continuously coming on the calls, and hope Anshu and Meenakshi, you can join for some of our vartas moving forward whenever you have the time.
Thank you.
And everyone else. So see you next week. I kind of Vinay has to help me out. He's my other colleague who's with us. I've forgotten who we are bringing in next week. There's just so much running in my head and I'm a little overwhelmed. So dimag nahi chal raha hai.
Koi baat nahi, you're going to send us the email, isn't it?
Yeah, but there is going to be a varta next week, and we will see you again with something interesting. If any of you have any ideas of who we should call, if there's some alternative work happening which you know of, please do write to us. We'll try to include them also in our series moving forward. Always open for ideas. So thank you again. Thanks, Vinay. Thanks, Shrishti, who's also around here. Ashish left, but they are the team that puts this together. Sangeeta couldn't come onto the call at all. Sorry, we missed her. But I'm sure she'll be happy to know that we had a good time.
Chale ji, nice. All the
best. Thank you.